Hi friends! Welcome to the Overcomers, a movement and a group of people who have overcome, and they've got a story. That's what the Overcomers is all about. You sharing your story. Why? Because there is power in your story and people need you. They need your voice. They need your story of hope, faith, and inspiration that where they're at right now is not the end. They need to know if you can overcome, so can they. Today, I'm excited to share with you another story of one such overcomer. So let's go check out who it is.
I'm honored to be here today with my friend, Nissa Salas. Nissa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Jen. I'm looking forward to this.
So Nissa is the daughter of a World War II veteran and the granddaughter of a veteran.
Yeah, there you
go. She had a very hard childhood and actually went through a very intense childhood dealing with PTSD and patterns of intense physical abuse. She's had PTSD herself and has dealt with severe alcohol abuse and even attempted suicide numerous times in her journey. She was on the cusp of divorce, but has stayed married to a veteran. And now she is an internationally recognized fitness model, and she's helping our veterans make sure they get their VA benefits. And it has an award-winning nonprofit that is actually named after her grandfather. Mm-hmm. But what I'm blown away most by you, Nissa, is that you have an amazing faith in God. And in every moment, you can often hear her saying, okay, God, what do you want me to do next? So I'm so excited to have you here today to share with us your whole journey and how you got to this place of having such amazing faith in God despite all of this stuff that you have been through. Tell us your story.
Well, Jen, thank you so much. You did that absolutely perfect. So I am the granddaughter to two war veterans, and I'm the great-granddaughter to another war veteran. So I didn't know anything about the military. I didn't serve. I almost did. And my real father, my biological father, his dad was named Alec, and he was in World War II, and he handled his alcoholism much like a sailor. And he drank a lot. And from what I understand, he gave a lot of terror to his wife and his kids. So my father was abused as a little boy and a baby. And when he married my mom, that pattern existed. So my parents were young. And my father, I got a chance to reconcile with him 2 years ago before he passed. But he was a lifelong alcoholic, potential bipolar depression, maybe a little bit of schizophrenia that was undiagnosed. But more than anything, he used to beat my mom and me so bad that my mom kidnapped us and brought us from Detroit, Michigan down here to Dallas. Now, this is crazy. So I'm going to give away my age. I'm 46. And so all this happened in 1976. Jen, back in the 70s, women didn't leave their abusers. Back in the 70s, women stayed. And so my mom was 21 years old. Her mother was 46, which is my age. And then my two aunts were with us. So it was 4 women and 2 babies, myself and my brother. And they had an escape plan to get into 2 vehicles and drive down to Arizona to Phoenix from Detroit in 1976. They had never been to Phoenix. All they knew was they had friends there. My grandmother and my mom and my 2 aunts, nobody had a job lined up. And so in the middle of the day while he was at work, my grandmother told her 2 youngest daughters to take the family station wagon and to head to the park. And she was going to go pick my mom, who was 21, and the 2 babies, me and my brother. They were going to pick us up. And if we did not meet them at the park, it was assumed that we were dead because he was going to kill us. So that was the beginning of my life. And we ended up going all the way down to Phoenix. These 4 ladies, out of all these 4 ladies, only one could get a job. It was the 18-year-old. That's pretty scary. You've got 6 people to feed and 1 lady has a job. And that deli job brought us to Dallas, and we've been here ever since. So we never talked about what happened. All I know is we picked up the pieces, we moved on. My grandmother remarried, my youngest aunt married, my mom remarried, and my mom loves to pick men that have issues. So my stepfather was also the son of a war veteran who served in World War II and had actually seen the battlefield. So come to find out, my stepfather had a lot of PTSD. And he did his best. He was a young stepfather, but he liked to discipline the way his dad did, who was from the country. And a lot of times, if you're from the South, it's a different level of discipline than anywhere else. So my stepdad would just lash out and just beat us. So you would think that we left one bad situation and would have gotten a better situation. It didn't happen. So needless to say, my stepdad raised me and my brother, and then they had 2 pregnancies after that. One was a set of twins that were born premature, and one passed away, and the other one lived. He's got special needs. And then they had a healthy pregnancy after that. So my stepdad decided to leave us when I was 14. So left my mom with me as the oldest, my brother right behind me, a special needs child who's 8 years old, and a 4-year-old baby girl, little girl. And guess who got to raise them? So from an early age, I learned how to administer medications, how to change diapers, how to feed. So I was basically the little mom of the household for sure. Later on, when I decided to go off to school, I didn't know anything about depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress. And during my formative years, when my mom was raising me, she had hidden alcoholism. So from the outside looking in, you'd say, wow, that's a hardworking single mom. She's got 4 kids, 1 with special needs. Look at her. And yes, she was amazing. Trust me, I don't know how she made it on a salary of $20,000 a year. I really don't. But there were nights she'd come home from work and she'd go to her bedroom and she'd hit the bottle and she'd come out and beat me in front of my siblings. So when I went off to college, there was something I wanted. And what I wanted was I wanted a different life from where I came. And I didn't want any abuse, but I didn't know how to reconcile what was in my heart. And we weren't raised in the church. I knew God existed, but I didn't know where he fit into my plan and where he fit into my life. And so I found myself hitting my head in relationships. I was trying to go to school to become a teacher. And just as soon as a relationship would split up, I thought of suicide. Wow. So I made my first attempt when I was away at school. And I would pray right before it. I'd say, okay, God. And I literally felt like I was possessed. I think I was possessed. But it wouldn't happen. And then I tried again, and it didn't happen. And the third time I tried, thank God it didn't happen. It's like God didn't want me to leave. And I was all of 25. Come on. Oh. And there was no talk about depression or PTSD. I didn't even know that my dad's dad was a combat veteran. I didn't know my stepfather's father was a combat veteran. I didn't know why my mom got drunk and took it out on me, which at the time I thought she was sober because she drank vodka. And guess what? There was not one cent of it when she was arguing with me or grabbing me by my throat or slapping me, which unfortunately she was just repeating what my dad had done to her. And I guess I triggered her. Yeah. After my last suicide attempt, I actually got help. And 2 weeks later, I met my husband. Like, okay. So I tried to tell this guy that I'm dating. I met this guy and he's wonderful. And I'm like, I can't believe this guy's talking to me. And then within a few months, I felt like looking at him and saying, hey, dude, I'm screwed up. I waited about 5 months and I told him, I said, I just want to give you a chance to know I'm screwed up. And he didn't run away. It was wild. He ended up serving in the military before we met, but that's all he told me, Jen. He didn't tell me that he worked with special forces. He didn't tell me that he fell off a helicopter while taking down an enemy ship. So I'm thinking I'm screwed up, and he's probably thinking the same darn thing.
Yep.
But he had the kindest heart. He was so respectful. We ended up getting married right away. And within a short period of time, there were a few things I noted, Jen. Number one, he couldn't walk. He was 29 years old and he couldn't walk. And then I was like, what's wrong with you? And all I heard was, nothing. I just got hurt in the Marine Corps. That's all I got. He couldn't go upstairs. He couldn't walk upstairs. He couldn't sit very long. We would go on a date, and after about an hour of sitting down, he couldn't get up. His legs were numb. And I was like, what's wrong with you? And he wouldn't tell me. That's besides the depression, the arguments. Later on, I saw nightmares and night tremors. Let me tell you what that's like. Waking up next to your veteran and seeing that they're pale white and they're sweating bullets and they're having a physical reaction like they're fighting somebody. Come to find out, those were the nightmares that he brought back from combat. Yeah. So I'll tell you what, Jen, it was hard because I was trying to love him, be uplifted by him, have a marriage with him, but I had to have my own hotel room because he'd get really angry and he'd yell at me and I didn't feel safe and I'd have to get out. And I don't know how we stayed together, but we did. And fast forward, we split up after 13 years. And I prayed that God would find another woman for this man. He's a great man. He's just got some issues. Somebody could marry him and put him back together. Maybe a nurse or a psychiatrist or somebody that went to school for that. I was just a teacher. What did I know? I was a school teacher, get ready to be a principal. So we split up. And this is where the story gets kind of wild because it kind of becomes a soap opera. I was done and he was done. So I started dating another guy. It was on accident. This guy asked me out. I was like, yeah, why not? I'm single now. I'll tell you what, I prayed for my husband to find a woman that could take care of him. And by dating this guy, I found out that his dad had served in Vietnam and was a Marine. You see my patterns?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, Jen, I watched him struggle with alcoholism and anger. And I told him, I said, what is wrong with you? Nothing. My dad screwed me up. He went to Vietnam. That was where I started taking notes. I said, wait a minute. I've got this one at home that I still have a contract with. I've got this one that I'm thinking about once this is null and void that I can go with him. There's something to this military that I missed out as a woman and as a wife. And sure enough, we broke up and I got right back with my husband.
Wow.
So all the things I saw and heard as I was dating this other guy, I ended up praying about it. And I said, okay, God, help my husband. I mean, even if I have to step out of the way and divorce him. And sure enough, I ended up noticing that my husband struggled on the same level as this guy who didn't even go to the military. And I found out that there was this thing called post-traumatic stress disorder, and it had a lot to do with old memories and old experiences that were just kind of there. And when my husband would act funny, I didn't respond as like I did before. And I ended up meeting a lady who sent me to a conference. And for some reason, I just decided to go. What was I going to lose? I was getting ready to, I was at a crossroads in my career. Was I going to be a teacher or a principal? Was I going to continue in the fitness industry after losing 60 pounds and getting international recognition? Or was I going to, what was I going to do? I had no idea. And by the way, who was I going to spend my life with? Was I going to stay with this man that had all this stuff that I couldn't fix? Was I going to break up and go with this other guy who was kind of, not much better, or was I just going to just wipe the slate clean? So I end up at this conference, and my husband and I had only been back together 2 or 3 months. And this lady went from homeless to millionaire at the age of 23. And I'm in her conference, and I hear ego versus bank account. And I'll tell you what, Jen, I had lost 60 pounds. So I went from the overweight school teacher to this hot thing on TV. I was in magazines, and people were like, oh, you're so awesome, and you're my hero. So my head was like that big. And when that lady, Danny Johnson, said, you need to bring down your ego, I sat forward in my chair and I was like, yes, ma'am. I literally thought she was only talking to me. And I'm pretty sure half the people in the room felt the same. And Danny Johnson said, on your lunch, you need to call 3 people and you need to apologize. And I was like, yes, ma'am. Jen, I ended up calling my husband first, and I told him how sorry I was.
Oh.
And I told him some of the things that my personality had done that irritated him, that he'd been trying to tell me for 13 years. His jaw dropped because I'm sobbing, and he swears that was the moment he knew that we would be together forever. Isn't that amazing? So I literally was kind of nervous of this whole Danny Johnson thing. Who was this lady? Who are these people? They're so excited that it kind of looked fake. But when I put all that aside, I thought, okay, I'm going to take what I learned. I learned some things about personality styles. I learned things about forgiveness of self and forgiveness of other people and having humility. And I learned how to snag a job. And remember the crossroads I was at? I was a teacher, get ready to be a principal. I had a certificate. I just didn't do it. And then I had this one personal training certificate that was getting ready to expire. And so I literally drove to this gym, a high caliber gym in the Dallas area. And I was intimidated because it was like a health resort. It was like the Maserati of gyms. It wasn't your box gym where you go and just kind of, no towel service. There's some weights. Sometimes they'll serve pizza on the first of the month, not really a super health club. Mm-hmm. And God said, walk in there. And I was like, okay, but my training certificate's getting ready to expire. And I have this master's degree to run a school. God said, so what? Reach into your trunk and get the magazine that you were featured in and walk in there. Anyways, so long story short, I grab the magazine, I walk into the gym, and I start using some of the questioning on how to honor or interview someone. And I asked for the manager, and I asked him about himself. Oh, for the first time, I asked someone else about themselves rather than talking about me. And I explained to him that I wasn't sure that I wanted to work there, or be a member. He says, you should really consider working here. And sure enough, he says, go to the other building and ask for so-and-so. And I said, you do me a favor and you call him on the walkie-talkie and tell him I'm on my way. The rest is history. I got a job at a high caliber gym. I've done over 9,000 hours. I was the most underqualified lady on the staff. I had a personal training certificate that I had to go ahead and renew. I was just a school teacher working in the gym. And I was able to talk to the clients and the members. I was able to find out what they needed. And I became one of their top salespeople. But more than anything, Jen, God told me that my purpose to be there was to keep my husband out of a wheelchair. So I learned from the best of the best national level bodybuilder competitors who had won awards. And I went on to get 8 certificates in corrective exercise and personal training. So when I came home, I started fixing him.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
But here's the catch. Remember, we didn't get along. Remember, I used to irritate him and he used to irritate me and yell and scream and I'd have to leave. Now my marriage was like, we're together. And I'm taking notes on how to be a better wife and how not to irritate him. I'm honoring his service. I'm actually getting information out of him about his service. Before, all he told me was he was in the Marine Corps. He was telling me about some of the injuries. And then I finally asked him, Jen, I said, how much are you getting from your government? Does your government know that you can't walk? You can't go upstairs. You can't sit. You're depressed. You're having these nightmares. He goes, yeah, my government knows. And I go, how do you know your government knows? He goes, because I'm getting 10% disability. I was like, what is that? He says, that's $120 a month. Have you ever seen that, Jen? Do you know people that are veterans that whether they work or they don't, whether they're under a bridge or they're not, they're getting, some of them are getting nothing or getting like $120. They might be getting like $300 or $400. Some of them cannot do the basics like you and I. They can't walk from service. It's not like they got injured before the service or after the service. It was during. So after we got his increase, we went from 10 to 70% disability rating with one visit.
Wow. Wow. That's so
Now
amazing.
remember, yes. Now remember the gym?
Mm-hmm.
God told me that what I was learning at the gym was going to help me teach him how to self-identify, help me teach him how to talk to the claims representative. And when we got down there, the claims representative filled in the gaps, wrote out all the claims, and he got this huge increase. But the thing is, he didn't know to go back down there to the VA. And what was he going to say? They already knew he was broken.
Wow.
So he needed an advocate. He didn't need just a wife. He didn't need just a girlfriend. He needed a woman that was going to stick with him when he was in a bad mood, be with him when he had nightmares at night, not judge him, help him to walk up and down the stairs, help him to fix his broken body. That is somebody bigger than me, Jen, and it's called God.
Absolutely.
So all I can say is it's been amazing because I don't know the answers. I have PTSD from my childhood. I'm learning every day about what actually happened when I was a baby. My mom is just like a war veteran. It'll come out in bits and pieces. And I just have to sit there and honor her, and I can't judge her. She was 18 when she married him. Actually, she was 17. And she escaped narrowly at 21 with 2 babies. It's crazy. So I am so excited because my husband and I have this nonprofit that we started. After we got success, my husband's like bringing people to me. And he's like, you need to help this person. Yeah. And they would get huge increases, like life-changing.
Wow. So
like
tell
they
us
could
more about this nonprofit. What is the name and how can people find you guys?
So my grandfather was Alec, and so we call ourselves Alex Angel. So it's ALEC'Angel, and we're at alexangel.org. We're in the middle of updating our website. We also have a book, and it's called The Complete Veteran Wife Handbook. And it was actually patterned after what I learned on how to honor people from the Dana Johnson conference.
Wow.
Because if you have a veteran in your life, chances are you're speaking 2 different languages. Mm-hmm. It's 2 different cultures. And so we civilians accidentally step on their toes when we ask the wrong question, or we sound like we're interrogating. And that veteran does not need that. They need to feel safe. And the other thing is, if they went overseas, there's a good chance a lot of what they did was classified and they're not supposed to talk about it. So here they are with this immense background of whatever they did to serve our country honorably. And then they come home and they're not supposed to talk about any of that. But the struggles are there because they have survivor's guilt. They have PTSD. During the holidays, think about this. Many of them were overseas, either participating in the war or supporting it, and they didn't even get to come home. So Christmas is one of the worst times for our veterans. Isn't that horrible?
Yeah. So how can people who are listening get involved with you guys and come alongside this amazing nonprofit that you guys have?
Oh my gosh. We need cheerleaders. We need donors. We need advocates. We need people that actually care for veterans. I'll be a little bit direct and say, there's a lot of people that say, I want to help. And the minute I go to text them or email them, nothing. Nothing. They're just like, it sounds good to be patriotic and volunteer. No, you've got to really realize that these veterans need to be enveloped. I just got off the phone with one. His DD-214, which is his exit paper, was incorrect. So he did a tour in Iraq, and his DD-214 doesn't even reflect that he went to Iraq. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. This is how we thank our veterans. Yes. So I spent an hour with him and my expert, who's my mentor, the claims rep, and we're trying to teach him how to get the right document to send off to the DOD or Department of Defense for them to put, because he got a campaign medal. It lists the medal that he got from being in Iraq, but it says foreign service 0. So guess what? God forbid, thank God he's not suicidal. He has severe PTSD from his tour, insomnia, headaches, nightmares, the whole gamut. But he can't even file for PTSD right now because it doesn't reflect on his DD-214. This is classic. This is what I'm telling you. I have other veterans that we go and try to fight for their benefits, and they lost their DD-214. And we message down to records and they can't even find it. Or their medical file from the military. The government loses it. So we can't prove. And the only way the VA can prove is what they see on that document or those documents. That's just one, Jen. And it's mind-boggling because I have to take avid notes. I have to make them feel safe. I have to plug them into my mentor. He goes through his synopsis, and then we have to take him, that veteran, to the claims rep, which everything's online due to COVID. And the thing is, out of a battery of 10 things on his list that bother him, he might only get recognized for 2 or 3, and the others get put off. So that's how there's little percentages given, if any.
Wow.
So we need donors. We need people to offer their professional services. People that want to, offer some little bit of IT or a little bit of website work, photography. We love getting referrals as well. The best referral is somebody in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I can kind of coach somebody over the phone just a little bit, but I don't have the expert claims person to write the claims. And by the way, I'm just a bridge. I'm a bridge from the community to the VA and also to the claims rep. But I am the one that tells them, you need to go to the doctor. And yeah, it's hard when the VA is shut down because of COVID.
So if you're listening right now and you want to help our veterans, you want to help empower this amazing nonprofit to go be the hands and feet that these veterans need to get their benefits and get the help that they need, visit alexangel.org.
That's
we're
right.
Pop that up right now so that everybody can get in touch with you guys and come alongside everything that you guys are doing. Nisa, if you could tell somebody who's listening right now one piece of advice who is going through some of the stuff that you have been through, what one piece of advice would you tell that listener right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a beautiful song by Diana Abinanti called War Cry. And she says, let your war cry out. So if you're suffering from depression, anxiety, whether you're a veteran or not, you have to be heard. Don't let that stew in your heart, whether it's childhood abuse, domestic violence, just depression in general, or maybe you're worried about somebody like that. Did you know, Jen, that it's actually against the law to commit suicide?
No, I didn't.
I found that out when I made a suicide cry, and my friend had the police come pick me up. If you are feeling suicidal, tell somebody. And also you can call the suicide crisis line.
Yep. We'll
All you
put
got to
that
do
up
is
right
Google
now.
that. Yeah, suicide crisis line. If you're a veteran, push 1. And I would also, honestly, I wasn't a Bible reader. I didn't have prayer angels. I didn't know how to pray, but I asked God before my attempts, please, please help me. I know it's not right. I know I want to be here, but I don't know how to move on. So you want to pray and you want to reach out to somebody. The crisis line is awesome. I was more scared of the stigma of what would people think that I tried to kill myself. You know what? It's so cool for you to still have a heartbeat, for you to have a story, but you be able to go on through your life and do something really cool than to not be here. So when you're not here, you can't be here. And there are so many people that have a past where they were suicidal. I know a lot of people. So don't be embarrassed. Don't be overwhelmed. And if you are a veteran in crisis, I'm actually a trained battle buddy, and I'll get you plugged into free online resources. In fact, I'm chock full of them. In fact, my Facebook page is Alex Angel Nonprofit. My personal page is my name, Nissa Salas. There is a free camp for veterans. They can go away. It's in Houston. It's called Camp Hope. And the PTSD Foundation will work with you for free online Tuesdays and Thursdays. The caregiver, the wife, the mom, the sister, the child, whomever has their own opportunity on Wednesdays at 7 to get free online support through PTSD Foundation. They also have a combat veteran hotline where you get to talk to a combat veteran 24 hours a day. Again, it's on the PTSDfoundation.org website. If you're a first responder, fireman, police officer, you need support too. They have their own free workshop. And if you're somebody that you're just really down and out, maybe you've been dabbling with a little bit of alcohol, depression, anxiety, drugs, get some help. Get some help. People around you need you. You need to get better for you. If you don't do it for you, think of the one person that it would hurt the most if you weren't here. That's all I got to say. But thank you so much, because I know that your family is a military family, and this is near and dear to your heart. Our veterans are so important. We need to go away from the era of Vietnam where we were disgusted, or supposedly people were disgusted with our military. We need to get back to World War II level of patriotism where we let our veteran know you're safe and you're fine. Be who you are. Let that, whatever memory, come up and get some professional help. Get some professional help. And if you're a veteran, it's free.
So
it's
good.
Free.
Thank you, Nisa, so much for joining us today. Thank you too for your honor. Like you blow me away with your honor through every single relationship in your life. I mean, I've seen it as a witness, getting to know you as a friend and attending events. I see how you treat people. I see how you treat me, but also hearing how you treated your mom, you treat your grandfather, you treat your husband, and now how you're treating our veterans. Like, this is exactly what honor is supposed to look like, and you are modeling that at the forefront. So I just want to thank you for that respect in showing people what that can look like. And what that means is, it means taking action. It means showing up for people. It means walking beside them and loving them where they're at. And so,
well, your book blew me away, Jen. Your book talking about after losing your dad and how you still went to church and how you hung up Christmas lights, or you did whatever they asked you to do. That's where I'm coming. I'm going to match my energy and what I do for the world with what you do as well with this platform. And thank you so much for you being who you are, because without like-minded people, we can't elevate the whole situation. This right here is going to give hope.
Yes, absolutely.
And thank you for letting me share. I've never publicly shared all of this before. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm excited because it's going to help a lot of people. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm excited because I'll get to see you soon.
Yeah.
I love you, friends.
Love you. Thank you so much.
Wow, wasn't that powerful? Do you have an overcomer story? Do you know someone who needs to hear this message? Please share this video on your social platforms and tag us so we know who you are. Stay tuned as we share more overcomer stories in the weeks ahead. We're looking for you. We're looking for the overcomers. Join us. Let's come together as the overcomers. Start sharing your story. We have multiple ways you can start getting involved and repping the movement, repping your story of what he has done in your life. For example, we've got journals. You can start writing your story down. Start getting it out of your head and on paper. We've got bracelets. Start repping that we're a group that are coming together to inspire people. We've got t-shirts and sweatshirts to not only remind yourself that you're filled with gold, but everybody around you, that your story is powerful. And don't forget, you can pick up a copy of Finding His Voice on Amazon, an overcomer's journey from suicide to success, an overcomer's journey which launched this very movement. And last but not least, if you want to learn how to overcome, visit www.dannyjohnson.com. That's my coach, and that's where I learned how to overcome. Thank you so much for joining with us today. We believe in you, and we believe in the power of story. We believe in your story.